What's up, guys? So I either really hate myself or really love you guys, or both. So the last time we talked about this FRX, it was about how I hated it and how it was not a good product and how I didn't recommend it. And it got more attention than I expected it to, and I read every single comment on that video, and a lot of people had different tips, different gripes with the way I had it set up, etc. And my biggest complaint with it, other than just the function, was the instructions were horrible. So, kind of as a proof of concept, last night I did a 3-hour live stream, and I installed this Floyd Rose on a different guitar live without using the instructions, just doing it my own way without looking at any reference material. And what do you know? It worked really well. So I think maybe the problem with this thing truly is just the instructions. So that's kind of a major problem. But what I've decided to do today, we're going to make a video. We're going to give this another chance. We're going to install it my way, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Ignore all of the documentation you get. Ignore the official Floyd Rose video. If you use my method, this is going to work a lot better for you. As you can see, I've already removed the strings. I've already removed the bridge. I've already removed the tailpiece, and I've already removed the studs that go in these different ferrules here. Took the strings off. I have locking tuners. That's not really relevant for the install. It's just something that I did. And then I'm going to remove the truss rod cover and install the nut. I guess we'll go ahead and just do that first. All right, so the nut. Now, some people were confused in the first video. Here it is. This is not a nut. It's a string locker. Don't think of this as a nut. You know why? It doesn't have any exit guides. You're supposed to put it behind your existing nut. It replaces your truss rod cover, and it goes behind your existing nut. You cannot replace your nut with a locking thing as simply as this. Failure on Floyd Rose's part. But anyway, what you do is you take off your truss rod cover. You can see I already drilled the holes. I did that in the failed last video that we made on this. Now, something that someone mentioned, and I think they might be right about this. They said that the exit of your strings should be even with the height of your nut slot. So this actually came with a little shim. I'm going to use that shim. The shim just goes on it like this, and you'll see if I hold it up like this, the strings are now pretty much at the height of the nut. So let's go ahead and screw that in. Okay, the nut is in. I want to add that the nut is an optional step. You don't have to do it. In fact, on my last live stream, when I did this, I didn't use the nut lock, and it actually worked fine. I'm doing it for aesthetic reasons, and honestly, if it doesn't work very well, I'm going to take it off. Okay, so what you do now is you grab these. You're going to have 2 sets of them. One of them is for Gibson size, and one of them is for Epiphone size. So you're going to take these. These are the Epiphone sized ones, since this is an Epiphone. And you just kind of screw them in. Doesn't really matter how far, just about like that. That should work. Once you've got those in there, you grab your FRX and you just situate it over the posts like this. Before you start tightening stuff down, you get these little pads. You're going to stick them underneath where the action adjustment screws are. So here's one of them. Going to stick it here. Okay. Then we're going to grab the other one, and we're going to go the other side and stick it in. Right there. And then the third one, this guitar already got scuffed. But if I pull this off, you'll see. See this little mark right here? There's a third spot where the trem, the bottom of it, if you look at it, has this little black bar. So that can actually touch your guitar. So I recommend putting this, and this one's pretty worn, so I may need to replace it with like a piece of tape or something, but that'll work for now. Okay, and now that everything is lined up, just grab it and stick it on like that. All right. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to, I already did it, but you see this thumb wheel? You can raise it and lower it, and what it does is it raises and lowers the plate. And you want to make sure that it's level. And with it level, grab it with your left hand and pull it back. Grab your Allen wrench, which you should have one that will fit in these tiny adjustment screws here on either side. Once you've got it in a pretty good spot, you can lower these action adjustment screws until they're kind of touching the body. And really, this is just going to brace, at this point, the guitar. It's not really doing anything for the action. You're just trying to keep it so all the pressure isn't all in one spot. You know what I mean? There we go. You can see it is functional. Once you've gotten this far, you're going to string the low E and the high E string. Just those two strings. Just want to mention to you how to do this. Now, if you've owned a Floyd Rose before, you probably already know this. What you do is you stick the long end into your block, your saddle block, okay? And then you grab your string and you push it down until it bottoms out in the saddle. Pull the trem down with the arm, grab this in with the long end and start tightening it. Grab a hold of the little short part at the end, get it till it's tight, okay? Then grab it again, give it a little bit more. There you go. Don't use it like this, because if you use it like this, you could really over-tighten it and cause a problem. So once it's tight on that end, then you can pull it tight and tighten it at the tuning head. Repetition is super important in learning, so we're going to do it again. Grab this, loosen it, grab your string, push it in until it bottoms out inside the saddle. Grab the trem arm, pull it down, grab your Allen wrench, stick the long end in, tighten it like this till it's tight, thumb and first finger, and then stick it in again. Do it a little bit more. There you go. And then go ahead and tighten it at the tune. At this point, tune both of the strings up to pitch. Now that you've got them strung, you can come and adjust your action. You can see the action's kind of high. It's actually a bit higher than I like it. To adjust the action, you use an Allen wrench and you can adjust it here and here. So as you can see, when I loosen this, nothing happens. And that's because the action is being set by these two outer ones. So we're actually going to tighten this to lower the action. A couple of turns should do it. Okay. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I have the action I want. Once you have the action where you like it, put the rest of the strings on the guitar. Now before you do this, this is very important. Right here is a little thumb wheel. See that? You can spin this wheel up or down. You want to make sure that you've spun it to the point where when you release it, it catches. And when it catches, the bridge is completely even with the base plate. You see this? That's going to be very important later. So go ahead and string the rest of the strings, and I'll come back. All right, you might notice that this happens while you're tuning up. So you might notice that the bridge starts to go forward a little bit. You see how it's no longer resting on this thumb wheel? Tighten the spring here. See this Allen wrench? You can actually insert it into this hole at the end. And what this does is it increases the tension of the spring. And do you see how it's pulling it back? See that? Keep doing it until it is even, okay? And now you can see it's now resting on this plate. You can resume tuning. Do it like this until you have all the strings in tune and you've got the spring tight enough that it's resting on that thumb wheel. Okay, so once you have everything up to tune, if you want to set this up floating, continue. If you don't want it to float and you only want to be able to go down with the trem, then you can skip this next step. But for this next part, what you're going to do is you're going to pull the trem forward. You're going to tighten this thumb wheel till it goes all the way down. And now what you're going to do is you're going to hit your E string. And you're going to loosen the spring here at the end with the Allen wrench until it says E on your tuner. There, now it's floating. Perfect. if you haven't already, you can now install your nut blocks. So I've got my nut blocks right here. I'm going to go ahead and install those. They're weirdly shaped. I don't know why they shaped them like this, but check it out. They're like, isn't that weird? They're not square. So I'm going to go ahead and install those, and I'll be right back. Recap. Install the nut lock if you want it. And then you install the bridge part by putting it on here. Then you tighten these two adjustment screws here on either side. Then you string the low E and the high E string and tune them to pitch. Then you raise and lower your action in your entire bridge, first using these two screws and then using these two screws to fine tune the action. And then you string the rest of the strings and you're done. Use the thumb wheel to stop the trem, tune it, wind this back down, and then adjust the tension on the spring until all the strings are in tune, and then you're floating. So here's a couple of major tips, most important things about this installation that you, in my opinion, must do for this to be successful. Number one, see this bar right here that attaches to the spring? Well, if you notice, it goes down under the trem. You can kind of see it under there. Now, when you move the trem, when you use the trem, you see how it moves back and forth? You want to ensure that that bar is not contacting the top of your guitar. If it is, it's going to introduce friction, and it's not going to return to zero, and it's going to scuff the crap out of your finish. That is important tip number one. Important tip, and I want to say, to remedy that, you would simply raise this on both sides first to get it kind of level with the pickup. Then you use these to raise it further until it's not touching anymore. I did it until there was like a millimeter of clearance. So there's clearance, but barely. Even with that, I can't get the action as low as I want it, and we'll get to that in the conclusion of this video. But so that's the first thing. Second thing, you will look down here, you will see that little hole right where I'm pointing? So inside there, you're going to find a little plastic screw with a round head. Take it out. Take it out, get rid of it. What that does is when this is floating, it assists with returning the bridge back to zero. And I was finding that while it was installed, that's what was causing that horrible clicking sound from the first video. It's not necessary. If you float it using the method that I showed you earlier in this video, you don't need that piece. And all it does is add friction, noise, and more problems. So that is the other major important thing that you must do, in my opinion, in order to get this right. So that's how you install the Floyd Rose FRX. And just to show you that it works, I'm going to play something for you real quick here. And it's still in tune. So there you go. Hopefully those instructions were helpful. I made this video because the Floyd Rose official documentation is horrendous. The official Floyd Rose video is also kind of horrendous. And there were just a lot of things I found, trial and lots of error and lots of experience with a Floyd Rose setup in general with a regular Floyd Rose. This is not an installation that should be done by beginners. This is definitely a super advanced thing that I recommend an advanced guitar tech or guitar enthusiast install, but it can be done, and that's the way to do it. Next time we're going to go more in depth on my thoughts and opinions on this now that I've had it for a little bit longer, and now that I've found a way for it to kind of work, and talk about whether or not I recommend it at all, if I still hate it, if I still think it's a piece of crap, etc. A lot of this came about because of all the comments and feedback I got on the last video about this. And I just want to thank all of you so much who engaged and talked about it with me. You gave me a lot of ideas, a lot of tips, and I think it really ended up in a good place on this guitar and led me to make this video for you. So, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all of you. Please like and subscribe. Join the Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description below. We talk about guitar, gear, etc. Stuff like this. you know, we like to have conversations like that, and I would love to see you there. So thanks again for watching. See you next time, and keep on rocking.